This is the Ether Review, a talk show passing the components of the Ethereum global computing platform and its ecosystem. Building on a basic knowledge of the blockchain, we seek to understand the mechanics behind this new generation computing network and the services it powers.
Veredictum's overarching mission is to reduce video piracy. And Bok, okay, but I'll say that out loud. Bok is shaking his head vehemently. a lot of people I speak to sort of have that same reaction. Ultimately, I think, so the argument goes, if you have more money flowing to the content creators where the value is generated, then you're going to end up with more valuable things. So as we understand the problem, it's highly multifaceted, and it's not going to be solved with just one solution. So what Veredictum is designing, what I'm designing at the moment, is a toolbox to help solve a lot of these problems associated with piracy. And it's content piracy in general, but we're sort of focusing on the video part. So in terms of the toolbox, we're developing a number of products that will effectively help content creators manage their copyright. So in simple terms, those tools are things like, first of all, creating a Veredictum identity, and then being able to register content to a public space, effectively a public blockchain. So you've got a linkage between an identity and a hash of a digital file. One of the other tools that we've sort of got working in the lab at the moment is a tool to also embed within that digital file a watermark or a fingerprint. So after you perform some processing on the file, you are able to generate a new file that looks and sounds exactly the same, but it's got some invisible and inaudible information buried in there. So at a high level, I think in order to reduce video piracy by a significant degree, you really need to try and solve as many of those facets of the problem as you can, and do two sort of key things. One is to provide that technology to deter piracy, and also provide technology to provide content in a way that's amenable to people wanting to consumers wanting to purchase it. So that is at a price point that's reasonable, and the access as well. So besides the toolbox that Veredictum is developing, I'm currently designing a anti-piracy search capability. So if you think about what happens between YouTube and Facebook quite commonly, where a content creator creates a video, they upload it to YouTube, and then a third party downloads that content from YouTube and then strips it of any content information and re-uploads it to Facebook. That's lost revenue in the eyes of the content creator, and to a greater or lesser extent a significant problem to those creators. And in order to solve the problem, actually what is required at the moment is for the content creator to first of all realise that the content has been stolen, and in the second instance they need to log on to Facebook and fill out a form which might take 5 minutes and enter in all the details about the infringement. And then at some point in the future, Facebook is required under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act to take the material down. But in that case, it's already too late, right? The damage has already been done. The views have been lost, and or the content owner's time has been lost. So another tool in the toolbox that we're creating is a function to automate that process to issue a takedown notice to the likes of Facebook. And coupled with an ability to detect where material has been copied illegally from one place in the internet to another place, we think provides quite a powerful value proposition for content creators.
How does it work though?
Good question. Glad you asked. Sort of. Okay, so the thinking goes that if you have a look at the search space for Facebook in terms of video, we're talking sort of hundreds of terabytes of data every day that one would need to look through and then process in order to understand whether or not that material is copyrighted. So if you imagine a situation where content creators are using the Veredictum platform and they are watermarking and registering their content, so it links back to a Veredictum identity, you have content that's released on the internet that has this information embedded into the file. And I'm quite pleased to say that the watermark is actually quite invariant to transformation. So in the lab, we've even been able to record on a smartphone a video file and reparse that new file in order to detect the information.
That's steganography, isn't it?
It is. It's exactly correct. Yeah.
And you can actually film a phone and that steganographically hidden or embedded information can be extracted from a video of it.
From a video of the video, so to speak, correct.
That's totally amazing.
It's got the CAM.
It's like mind-blowing.
That's like rights management heaven.
It's very cool tech. So anyway, imagine that content creators that are using these tools and uploading files that have this information buried in it. Imagine a 256-bit key or something like that. So if you have a look at the problem, okay, how do we consume the search space where we think the pirated material is going from? And if you reduce the problem to saying, okay, taken from YouTube, uploaded to Facebook, we're talking about sort of hundreds of terabytes per day. Impractical or very, very expensive to do with a centralized system. Okay, so what's the next logical step? Potentially use a decentralized system. So the idea being that we would recruit nodes which would use their latent processing power and bandwidth to look at just small sections of the search space. So the protocol that I'm designing at the moment would, per every time period, divide up the search space and then provision that search space to the actors or the nodes in the network, and then those nodes would process and then return a result. The result would be, is one of those files in the search space watermarked, and is it in a place that it shouldn't be? So it's a binary result, and that gets fed back into the requester who has paid to perform that search. And of course, that value transfer between the person or the content creator paying for a service and the provision of that service would be managed using a cryptocurrency, which is, as we know, very, very easy to implement.
Could you crowdsource the public to perform a similar role? Like give them a small token kickback for identifying?
So that's kind of the idea. The sense of community, I think, will be important for this to work. I sort of imagine this working, and I'm trying to design it in such a way that it doesn't need a discrete business to be set up, like a Bitcoin mining business might be set up to process proof of work. In order to keep the search cost low, it would be predicated on willing actors using their latent resources to search. And I can go further into it in terms of how do you perform verification and stuff like that. But it's effectively, if anyone is familiar with the way Golem works or with the way TrueBit works, they're one too as well. There's no easy way cryptographically to verify a remote computation for a generalized program. So the way most people solve this problem is that they have to reperform the computation. So this system wouldn't actually be run on a single public chain. The current design that I'm looking at is to have a number of micro blockchains for which each micro network performs the computation for one sector of the search space, so that each actor in the micro network can cross-verify just for that one computation, just for that one time period. So say for argument's sake, you might have 5 randomly selected nodes in the microchain, and they might look at, say, 5 or 20 files in a search space, and the consumption might be something of the order of 10 gigabytes or something like that per time period. That time period might be half a day, something of that nature. So that's how you overcome that problem, and you use sort of the submission of Merkle proofs to make sure that at each step in the computation, everyone is cross-validating everyone else's work that they've performed. And at the end, you generate a proof, which is not a cryptographic proof, it's more of a probabilistic proof that you can say with high probability, this group of assuming non-colluding nodes in a microchain have produced a result that through probability we think is verifiable. It's verified to within 4 nines or 5 nines sort of probability. So that's sort of how we're going to solve it.
Very interesting.
How do you prevent the major players from abusing your system, abusing the general public? I recently had a takedown notice from sort of hidden takedown notice from Genesis Mining.
Right. Yes.
Because I had a small statement that said their 24-month contract for Ethereum mining is going to be useless if the proof of stake comes in 6 months' time.
Yeah. That's a legal question. I mean, whether or not you've done the wrong thing is, that's up to the law to decide, right?
But then all these big players will just send out lots of these notices, and even if a small percentage hits, that people pay up or take down.
But this is different because it has to actually have the proof of duplication, right?
Well, we're calling it notionally proof of discovery. If I don't say that, my CEO will probably. But notionally calling it proof of discovery, but it's a proof, but not the proof that a cryptographer would understand a proof to be.
It's a falsifiable piece of evidence required to be attached to the actual takedown submission. Correct.
And you can add verification layers over the top. This is what TrueBit are working on, where you can add a gamification layer over the top using deposits from the actors that are doing these computations to say, at any point in time, if we think that there's been collusion and you've produced the wrong result, someone else can come in and reperform those functions, and then if it's proven that through cryptography that you've done the wrong thing, then you lose your deposits or something of that nature.
So how many people here are just hardcore pirates? Show of hands.
No hands.
What was the question? What was the question? I don't have the time. I'm too busy.
How many people here are hardcore pirates?